I don't know. It's a good question. Okay, good evening. This is Joy 1-4. We are learning this, all of us in the Holy Brother network here. Avram, Shmuel ben Natan, Vekela. Should I have Aliyah and Neshama? The prophet says as well, we talking about Yeshaya and how I will truly rejoice in the Lord. My soul will be glad in God. When will I rejoice? It says the Midrash in the times of the Mashiach and Messiah, 6-38. The happiness then will be so great that everyone will dance from sheer joy, and no one will be embarrassed by what his neighbors may think of him. Interesting. God will reveal so clearly the truth of his existence that every person will feel that there is absolutely no one else at all besides God himself, and that he is always at a person's side. There is no greater joy a person can experience. I'm recording. Okay. God will reveal so clearly the truth of his existence that every person will feel that there is absolutely no one else at all besides God himself, and that he is always at a person's side. There's no greater joy a person can experience as the realization that God is right beside him. How fortunate is the person who awaits that hour. How happy is the person who attains this realization. That's how interesting. It says here that the realization in the times of the Mashiach, when God's presence and spiritual awareness will be everywhere, and everybody will be awake. And that'll be such an amazing feeling. And people will dance from sheer joy, and no one will be embarrassed by what his neighbors think of him. What a funny phrase. Like the big, huge thing that's going to happen in the times of the Mashiach is that no one's going to be afraid what his neighbors think of him.
That's really cool.
And it's interesting if you think about how much we hold back. Being happy, being expressive, saying what we feel, doing things that are exciting for us in the moment because it's too much for people, or it's embarrassing, or, but when I really know that it's just me and God and I want to express my joy, I'm good. That's wonderful. And think of a person when they're in their happiest times. You see them like jumping around, like, woo, oh my gosh, it's so great. And they don't really care. Hey, what's up, neighbor? How are you? Like people are just like expressive. So people will be free by their conscious, like they're like self-checking all the time. We're always like in our heads, like checking, what do you call it? Like not checking, self-monitoring and self-reflecting. Like that's going to be gone because when I'm happy, I kind of let go of all that stuff. Mostly I just flow. Right. But what's really interesting is that it's saying when God's by a person's side and it really feels like the presence is there, you feel really joy. And then number 3, it's very interesting. How fortunate is someone who awaits that hour? I heard today in a book I was reading with one of my holy brothers, Mark, that it's about Chovos Levavos, the alchemist, whoever this is, he has one world and many gods, and the Baal B'tachon has one God and two worlds. Again, the alchemist has one world and many gods, and the Baal B'tachon, the opposite, has one God and two worlds, this world and the next world. So the alchemist, the person who tries to like channel his energies and his emotions and everything he does to kind of create what he wants in his life, he just thinks there's only this life. And since there's only this life and there's all these powers that affect his life, he gives each of them power, and he then lets them run his life and run his experience. But a Baal B'tachon, someone who knows that God is running his life, that everything that happens is his ratzon, that we begin to internalize it, that it's good, and that God knows what he's doing and he loves us and so on. So he knows that there's this world and the next world. Like Jews who are tuned into themselves know that we're here for a reason. We're here to make a dir b'tachton, right? We're learning that there's a place here. We must make a place for God and God bring the world up, bring God down, whatever. We're supposed to create a good place, tikkun olam. Right? So there's only one power. And we know we're going somewhere when the world ends. And so happy is a person who awaits that hour. In other words, think about this. If you have a vacation and you know you're going on it in 2 weeks from now, You have a vacation. You know that you're going to be going on it in 2 weeks from now. Like the closer it gets, the more excited you get. Coming to be in Florida. We're going to be on the beach. It's going to be amazing. And you really know that it probably will, and you're going to be with people you love. Like you have joy. We have joy just from thinking about it. And I think he's making a parallel for us, the Mohorash, that if we can get into really the realization that there's a time of complete joy coming, the ultimate spiritual vacation, then we will be able to feel like the taste of it now. And that taste is wonderful. That's really wonderful. Always someone coming around the end of the marathon, and he sees the finish line like a mile away. All of a sudden, all the pain goes away. What happened to that? He's in the middle of it, and he's like completely dying and will never make it out of here. All of a sudden, I see the end. Okay, I'm good. End of a fast, same thing. So all of a sudden, the last 45 minutes, I'm fine. Right in the middle, I think I'm going to die. How can I continue on doing this fast? So too in our lives, that if we realize there's a time coming, and we get the time coming kiva moed, the time coming consciousness, then we're going to be able to be happy now in a certain way. And we'll be able to find the light of our soul more easily. That's why he says at the end here, how happy is the person who attains this realization. So we have a few things here. Number one, in summary, to note that a time is coming and there are two worlds, not one. And there's one God in two worlds, not one world and many powers. And number two, that we're going to come a time when all of our insecurities and all of our fears and all of our terrors and panics and depressions and guilts and everything will be gone. And it's going to be great. And now I'm not going to be embarrassed if any of my neighbors, anybody around me thinks I'm going to be just with God. It's going to be great. And then finally, if I wait for that, it's going to be really good. So pick something in there that resonates for you and enjoy it. Have a great night.